a commencement speech that I made some time ago in Des Moines, a newspaper reporter once asked me a very interesting question. Went something like this. In your years in athletics and business and politics, what is the single most important piece of information you've ever found? The answer was easy. I told him the most important fact I'd ever learned is that people become what they think about. Seemed to catch him off balance for a moment, and he asked me to explain. I told him that when I was a youngster, I used to watch people walking along the streets and wondering why were the people that they were, why they wore the clothes that they wore and worked in a particular job or earned a particular income or lived in a particular house. You can carry it a lot further, why people live in certain towns or why they marry their spouses and so on. Well, it might seem like an oversimplification, but it pretty well can be boiled down to one very simple fact, that people are what they are and do what they do because of the way they habitually think. Do you believe that you can control a thought? The answer is we can, as human beings, control thoughts. We can control what we do and how we react with the thoughts that we have. And that's the control that we have. So reaction follows every thought. If we didn't react to the things we think about, we wouldn't do anything. This applies to every aspect of our lives. We literally become what we think about. And so a person that has this power of control of their reactions, if they only realize how important this is, can control their own futures. So what I'm really talking about is an attitude. It's a reflection of what we value. If you see a diamond ring lying on the ground, there's several things that you can do in the reaction to that thought of seeing it. You could find the rightful owner, you could leave it alone, or you could put it in your pocket. But it's an attitude that is a reflection of your values. Attitude is more than just saying you can, but it's believing you can. We have total ownership of our attitudes, each of you. No one else has the power to alter your attitudes without your permission. Our attitudes allow us to rise above failures, to accept others for who they are and what they say, and it's a forerunner of all skills needed for happiness and success. Our attitude can be used to build us up or put us down. The choice is ours. I'm convinced that life is not what has happened to me, but it's how I've responded to it. And it's with this state of mind that I remain in charge of my attitude. So you're today the results of your attitudes. And that same attitude will determine who you are and what you're going to become. And it's just that simple. It's like the little man talking to the 250-pounder, saying that if I was as big as you are, I would be the heavyweight champion of the world. And the big man said to the little man, what's keeping you from being the lightweight champion of the world? Attitude. People. It's not the critic that counts. Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly and who errs and comes short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, and who at the best knows the triumphs of high achievements, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls that have known neither victory nor defeat. Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. And it's a seriousness that comes about what I think is fear. And I don't blame you for being afraid. But let me tell you this. Emotional pain is part of living. Living the life you want is not without some real pain. To be fully and truly human, we have to take the armor off that we usually wear to keep the world from hurting us. So without the readiness to feel, which must include feeling pain, we will never know hope, love, or joy. Take some risk. We have a lot of emotional pain in our lives. It's all part of being alive. I remember when the President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and a tearful Daniel Patrick Moynihan said, "When you're Irish, one of the first things you learn is that sooner or later the world will break your heart." Why do hundreds of young people who seem to have so much to live for take their own lives every year? Why are older people driven to do the same when faced with serious illness or scandal? Why do countless other people retreat into mental illness or alcoholism or drug addiction? I suspect the answer has something to do with our society's attitude toward pain. In essence, we've been promised a pain-free life. Your parents have shielded you from most of your pain. So when something happens to hurt you, a failure, a rejection, a death of a loved one, dreams that don't come true, and you can't make the pain go away, and we don't know how to deal with it, never having learned to live with pain, some people see no way out except giving up on living. I say nonsense. Pain is part of being alive, and we need to learn that. Most pain doesn't last forever. It's not unbearable, and we need to be taught that too. We have to learn to trust our own capacities to endure. We can endure much more than we think we can. The human experience testifies to that. All we need to do is learn not to be afraid. Let the pain hurt, don't deny it, but don't be overwhelmed by it. It won't last forever, and one day the pain will be gone, and you'll still be here, and you'll be a stronger person for it. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. So the key is faith.